Welcome to The Shift. I'm Dean.
And I'm Akasha. We cover the latest in all things science, technology, and culture, with new episodes dropping every Monday.
From the latest advances in knowledge systems and information theory to exploring emerging mediums of art and medicine. Join us as we do bite-sized deep dives on the latest.
The shift is now. Ever think about hitting fast forward on evolution? Like not just watching it happen, but kind of grabbing the wheel.
Now that's getting a little sci-fi, isn't it?
That's what we're diving into today. The research you sent over, it's all about bioelectricity, the cellular memory, even gets into the philosophy of mind. You're definitely interested in where biology and engineering kind of blur together.
And you're right, it is kind of sci-fi. But the papers you sent, they suggest we're closer to that than we might think.
See, this is what gets me this idea that cells are like way smarter than we thought. We always hear DNA's the blueprint, right? But what if it's more like DNA gives the building blocks and then the cells? They're figuring out how to put them together.
That's a great way to think about it. There's this real adaptability to life, you know? This ability to just like roll with the punches and improvise.
Yeah.
It goes way beyond just a set of instructions.
The tadpole thing in evolutionary implications, that just blew my mind. Scientists, they like totally scrambled this tadpole's face.
Yeah.
But it still turned into a normal frog face. How is that even possible? It's like those cells, they knew what they were supposed to be even when everything was messed up.
It really makes you think about what intelligence even is, doesn't it? And if these cells can solve that kind of problem without a brain, I mean, what does that tell us? Maybe intelligence is more fundamental than we thought, like baked into life itself.
Okay, so my mind is already blown. But then there's this whole bioelectricity thing. It's like we're discovering the body's own communication network.
Right.
And if the role of bioelectrical patterns, if that's right, we might be able to like pack it.
See, what's so cool here is that bioelectricity, it's like the software, you know, like it's guiding how the cells are arranging themselves, how they're building things.
So are you saying DNA is the hardware and bioelectricity is the software? And like we could rewrite the code.
That's the idea. And there's actual evidence for this. Remember those researchers, the ones who made the extra eyes in tadpoles?
Oh, yeah.
They did that by changing the bioelectricity, like sending in a whole new set of instructions.
Hold on. Extra eyes. That's insane, but also incredible cool. Can you imagine what this could mean for like regenerative medicine? Could we regrow limbs or repair organs just by like tweaking these bioelectrical signals?
It's not quite that simple, but it does open up some seriously wild possibilities. We're not just talking about treating symptoms anymore. We're talking about working with the cells, like using their intelligence to heal.
So instead of being mechanics, we're like cellular diplomats or something.
Ah, I like that.
Instead of just fixing things from the outside, we're learning how to actually talk to the cells.
And a huge part of that is understanding how cells remember things. That's where the self-improving memory paper comes in. It argues that even a single cell can remember stuff. Not in the way we think about it, but still.
Wait, hold on. How can a single cell remember something? I mean, it doesn't have a brain, does it?
It's not about remembering specific events. It's more like a cell has this record of its past experiences. It's constantly interpreting its environment, sensing all these signals, and changing what it does based on what's worked before. Yeah, it's more like they've got this feedback loop going on, you know, constantly learning, adapting, like on the fly, taking in signals, reacting, and basically rewriting their whole understanding of the world as they go.
So not like a snapshot of the past, more like they're telling themselves a story, and the story just keeps changing.
That's actually a great way to put it. Yep. And those stories, that like internal narrative, it changes how they behave. It's a whole other level of like cellular intelligence. We're only just starting to get it.
Okay, so we've got these cells, they're learning, they're changing their own histories. It's kind of mind-blowing. But where does cancer fit into all of this? It seems like those cells, they're breaking all the rules, like they're ignoring the signals, just going totally rogue.
The way the multi-scale wisdom paper describes it is, it's like a shift in their goals. Imagine a normal, healthy cell. It's part of this huge network, right? Working together, all for the same goal. keeping the organ healthy, keeping the whole body running.
Right, like a well-coordinated team.
Exactly.
Huh.
Now, cancer cells, they're like that one teammate who just decides, no, I'm going solo, starts their own project, doesn't care about the bigger picture.
So they're not evil, they're just kind of self-absorbed, like they lost sight of the team goals.
Exactly. And because they're not listening to anyone else, all those normal rules about growing and dividing, they just disappear. It's like a car with a busted speedometer.
And that's why cancer is such a nightmare to treat. It's not just fighting bad cells, it's like this total breakdown in communication.
It is. And it's an insight that changes how we think about treatment. If we can figure out how cancer cells are twisting the story, maybe, just maybe, we can get them to rewrite it, rejoin the team.
So instead of chemo, blasting them with radiation, we could, develop therapies that help them remember how to behave, how to be a healthy part of the system again.
Exactly. It's a totally different way of thinking. But it lines up with all this new stuff about how smart cells really are. It's about working with them, not just fighting them.
It's like that line from the Wisdom of the Body paper.
Yeah.
About forming a therapeutic alliance. Yes.
We're not at war with disease. It's more like we need to make peace with our own bodies.
I love that. And this is where bioelectricity comes back in. If we can learn their language, understand these signals, we might be able to nudge them back towards health. Literally rewrite the story of disease.
So instead of chemo, we're composing symphonies of bioelectricity, orchestrating healing from within.
It sounds crazy, but based on this research, it might be possible. But, and this is a big but, we have to be careful as we dig deeper into this, into how smart cells are, how much control we might have. We need to be ethical about it. Really think about what we're doing.
Right, just because we can do something. It's a lot of responsibility. Figuring out how to use this knowledge the right way. Man, this whole deep dive has been like one big trip into the unknown, pushing the limits of what we even thought was possible. It has. We've looked at how they talk, how they remember, how they adapt, and we've only scratched the surface. This next part, this is where it gets really wild. We're going to dig into what all of this means for consciousness, for what it means to have an identity.
Okay, you've said scratching the surface a couple of times, and every time you do, I swear, my mind bends a little more. What could be more wild than what we've already talked about? We're talking to cells, rewriting their memories. I mean, extra eyes, come on.
It's true. We've covered some pretty big stuff. But you know that idea, that cellular memory thing, the part where it challenges how we even think about what it means to be a person, that's where it gets really interesting.
Right. Like if our cells are constantly changing how they see the world, what does that even say about us as individuals? It's kind of messed me up, honestly.
It really makes you question this whole idea of like a single self. What if it's not that simple? What if we're more like a collection of different perspectives, all changing all the time, like a chorus of cells, each with its own voice, adding to the song?
So not just a bunch of cells, but like a whole society of them, all with their own stories.
Exactly. And that feeling we have of being one me, it comes from all those cellular experiences all mixed up. It's not fixed. It's constantly being made and remade.
Wow. Okay. So there's not one me in charge. It's more like my body's a democracy, with different parts of me all having a say.
It's a big shift, right? To think that we're not just our brains, we're all these cells talking to each other, changing, becoming all the time.
And if that's true, then how we see health, how we see disease, that has to change too. It's not just about fixing what's broken. It's like understanding their language, listening to what our cells are trying to tell us.
Exactly. All this research. It's like an invitation to listen to our bodies in a totally different way. To get that there's an intelligence in every single cell and healing. It's more like a collaboration than a fight.
So it's not a war on disease anymore. It's making peace with our own bodies.
Beautifully put.
Instead of attacking symptoms, it's more like we're learning to listen to what our body's whispering, trying to figure out what it needs.
And that brings us back to everything we talked about. The potential here is huge, not just for medicine, but for, well, everything. The more we learn about this, about how smart our cells are, how to talk to them, who knows what we could achieve.
You know, I started this whole deep dive wanting to know if we could, hack evolution. And now, I'm not even sure what it means to be me anymore.
That's the best part, isn't it? The more we learn, the more we realize how much is still out there. It's a conversation that never really ends.
Man, this has been a lot to think about, that's for sure. Thanks for being our guide through all this crazy science.
Hey, the pleasure was all mine. Don't ever stop asking the big questions, right?
Yeah.
The world's an amazing place, and we're just starting to figure it out.
Don't forget to like and subscribe. Join us on October 10th for the Shift event hosted by SF Tech Week.
If you like today's podcast, share your thoughts on X, Instagram, or Facebook. We'll be reposting our favorite comments. And that wraps up this episode. Thank you for tuning in. And remember, the shift is now. Agency, powered by 5D Studios.